Before servicing this mower, always disengage or remove the batteries. Removal and replacement of the battery box assembly first requires removal of the seat suspension, and the rear guard assembly. Use a 6 mm hex wrench to remove the 2 screws on the front side of the seat. Then move the seat forward to expose 2 hex screws that secure the steel rails to the suspension. Remove these screws, then lift the seat assembly and unplug the connector from the seat switch before removing the seat. Using a 13 mm socket, remove the 4 hex bolts that secure the seat suspension base to the mower frame. Then remove the 4 T20 Torx screws that secure the decorative cover on the front of the seat. Release the seat wire harness from the hook. The seat suspension can now be removed. The decorative cover on the back of the seat is also secured with 4 T20 Torx screws. Next, remove the 5 screws that secure the fuse box cover. Carefully and slowly slide the fuse box top cover to expose the connectors. The cover is sealed with waterproofing compound and may need to be pried loose. With the cover removed, use a 10 mm socket wrench to remove the bolts that secure the orange and black wires to the fuse box and pull to separate the Type-C plug. Now unplug the black, yellow, and Type-C plugs. Release the 2 wires that link the right cover assembly to the left cover assembly by lifting them away from the 4 wire traps on top of the battery management system. To remove the rear guard assembly, use a T30 bit to remove the 6 screws, 2 on each side and 2 on the back. Then use a 13 mm socket to remove the 2 hex bolts that secure the hitch to the frame. Slide the rear guard away from the battery box and disconnect the left cover cable connector. The rear guard assembly can now be removed. Open the battery box cover and remove the 2 13 mm hex bolts on each side. Then close the battery box cover to reveal 2 hex bolts on the front. With these screws removed, the battery box assembly can be removed from the mower. When installing the replacement assembly, align the new battery box with the 4 mounting holes and tighten the bolts with a 13 mm torque wrench. Connect the wire harness to the left cover assembly by connecting the yellow and black plugs and the Type-C plug, aligning them into the slots as seen here. Be sure to apply dielectric waterproof grease to the Type-C plug. The 2 wires that link the left and right cover assemblies should also be aligned in the slots, as seen here. Also, make sure that the charging fuse from the left cover assembly is inserted into the slots beside the yellow plug. Using a 10 mm socket wrench, connect the wire harness from the battery box assembly with the fuse box, starting with the orange wire. When connecting the black wire, it should be seated under the eye connector and routed into the slot that comes from the battery box assembly. The wire harness also includes the Type-C plug. Add dielectric waterproof grease before connecting it. Also apply waterproofing sealant where the orange and black cables enter the fuse box to seal the gaps. Slide the cover onto the fuse box bottom and tighten with the 5 T20 Torx screws. Mount the rear decorative cover and tighten the 4 corresponding screws. Next, mount the seat suspension base and attach the front seat decorative cover onto the mower. Note, the seat wire harness should be routed upwards and around the left side of the seat suspension rod. This facilitates the plug connection to the sensor switch at the bottom of the seat assembly. To replace the seat, Place it against the front of the suspension base and align the holes. Use a 6mm hex wrench to affix the seat rails to the base. Once the seat is secured, move it forward to expose the 2 backside mounting holes in the steel rails of the seat assembly. Secure the rails with the 2 remaining hex screws, then move the seat all the way back and hook the wire harness onto the seat suspension base. Complete the reassembly by plugging in the rear guard left cover cable connector. Mount the rear guard assembly onto the mower, and then mount the hitch. Please refer to the EGO service diagram and parts list for specific parts needed for this repair. Always use genuine EGO parts.